I begin the video, I want to tell black people to stay out of this. White civilization, white society, Western culture, Western civilization as we know it is imploding. You all are not a part of that. You need to stay out of it. Now, on to the video. My thoughts about this report that says 1 in 5 women do not want to have children. Welcome to the Shikama Live Show with your host, Shikama. As we're coming up on the supposedly lover holiday, that's Valentine's Day, I'm going to make a series of videos, not specifically centered on Valentine's Day, but concerning what people should be thinking about during Valentine's. We're seeing the complete implosion of white society. Specifically, we're seeing that not only are white men shunning marriage, shunning relationships, actual relationships with white women, we're seeing that white men in droves are getting vasectomies. So not only do they not want to be trapped by kids, they don't want kids at all. Now it takes I think it takes a special kind of person, and by special I mean unique, to not want kids, and that's male or female. But here's the deal. Don't write books telling that there should be no stigma about women who don't want children. I'm sorry to inform you this, but women are human. If you don't want children, then you need to question your humanity. The left has convinced women of the narrative that is the Illuminati version of humanist. I say I'm a humanist, but I'm an actual humanist. I'm not an Illuminati humanist. I believe in the human being. If a woman doesn't want to have children, there should be a full-blown stigma, because that means that you are not continuing the human race. Then you have these other Illuminati useful idiots who come in and say, oh, but the world is overpopulated. 90% of the planet is vacant. I'm sorry, 90% of the land mass of the planet is vacant of humans. The current population of the entire world can fit on 10% of the land. So this notion that we're overpopulated is an Illuminati talking point. Originally, this whole notion of overpopulation started because farming technology was so low and so inept and so inefficient that we were not able to keep up with the demand of food at the current farming technology. Now, when you have such laudable Africans who made inventions that the entire world took advantage of after they invented it, you saw an explosion in the capability of less people being able to farm less land and provide more food than ever before. Then it crept up to overpopulation. The world would be overpopulated in 50 years from the original date. Then that kept creeping up, and that kept creeping up. And now it's simply, they're not putting dates on it. They're just saying it's overpopulated. The planet is not overpopulated. With the current farming technology that we have right now, and I don't mean farming technology because that's going to convey an image in your head that you don't need. With the current agricultural technology that we have in the world today, scientists say that this planet could sustain, without anybody going hungry, 60 times the current world population. I just want you to let that sink in for a second. 60 times the current world population can be sustained. And no, it wouldn't be a cesspool of pollution or anything like that. So then, armed with that knowledge, then now take a look at these women who said that they don't want to have children. Should there be a stigma? And the answer is yes. Now, the only people who even bring up this whole question of stigma are the people who are useful idiots for the New World Order, for the powers that be, for the elites, who say that the middle class and lower classes should not exist at all. You don't understand. The whole notion of overpopulation means that you're going to get rid of some people. Now, who do you think that they're going to get rid of? They're going to get rid of the very people screaming that the world is overpopulated. Why? Because they're the useful idiots who are in the middle class and the lower class. Now, of course, your liberal teacher, your leftist teacher and professor in the university is not going to tell you that. But the elites are going to stand up and applaud you. You are so right. Step into this gas chamber that we have prepared for you. Huh? Oh, that sounds like Hitler? Well, that's what you've been promoting. No, I said I'm a humanist. I'm a real humanist. I'm not this person who believes that I can live forever and I have more immortality and I'm going to upload my psyche into a robot so that I'll run around with an immortal body and have my own brain or my own thought pattern still uploaded into circuitry into a robot. That's humanist. That's the people that you're promoting when you're talking about overpopulation. A couple of points. Any woman who doesn't want to have children should give up the entire notion of marriage. Oh, I'm sorry. Marriage was never about two people falling in love. The very word means a joining. And the only possible way that you could actually be joined is not through having sex. It's actually producing a child from the two of you. And the actual marriage is the families of the bride and the families of the groom being joined through a child, through the blood of a child. That's the reality. This whole homosexual agenda, talking about marriage, which is impossibility. It's just like the whole notion that this transgender movement that says that a man can be transformed into a woman, which of course is hogwash. Plastic surgery does not turn you into a woman. So this whole notion of you should call me these pronouns, no, because you're not actually a woman. I saw protesters and a transgender man spit on another man, and then when the man went to hit the man, he says, you're going to hit a woman or you're not a woman. So, no, I'm not going to hit a woman. I'm going to hit a dude. Marriage is about the joining of two families. That's all it ever was. That's all it ever will be. And the only way that it's actually joined is through producing a child. That's what marriage is. You see, the definition of I believe marriage is between a man and a woman only goes to step 1. Step 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is I gotta produce a child. That means a barren woman shouldn't get married either. A barren man shouldn't get married. Married? No. They can mess around, they can fool around. That's fine. And that's this civilization now, this culture now, that you can have sex with whomever you want, whenever you want. And then the feminists say, you shouldn't call us names because we want to have sex all the time with however many men that we want to. What? So the real notion that the alpha male stigma is bowed down to by feminists is still there. It's alive and kicking. That if I want to have sex with Brad Pitt, I can have sex with Brad Pitt. What's really crazy is that nobody actually says, hey, Brad Pitt, would you like to have sex with me? And hey, Brad Pitt goes, hell no. I've had the best women on the planet. Why in the world would I give you the time of day? Should there be a stigma about women who don't want to have children? Yes, because it calls into question your whole notion of your humanity. They did a study and it said men also want to have children at a certain age. When talking about women's menopause and women getting desperate at the age of 38, they start getting desperate and they say, oh no, that notion of me not having children, that was all a joke. I gotta have it now. My clock is ticking. So all of these fancy broads who thought that they were independent and they could do this, that, and the other, and they could have a job and a career, and they could climb the corporate ladder, and they come home to their cats and they're more angry, sad, depressed than ever before in the history of the country. That's including when they quote unquote stayed home like a good little woman. They are more unhappy than then. Now, why do you think that? Maybe because when the woman stayed home, she wasn't unhappy at all. It's only through the lens of 2017, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 2001 that we have women redefining history and saying, oh, I'm going to tell you that you were unhappy. No, dear, I wasn't unhappy. It was awesome. We stayed home. We watched our soap operas. We ate bonbons. We cleaned the house. We had Tupperware parties. We could go pick up the kids. We could go pick up the husband. And on the weekend, we partied hard. Come Sunday, we all repented. And on Monday, it started all over. We'd meet at the fence. Miss Junebug would bring some mint julep, right? We'd all sit by the fence and gossip about what happened over the weekend. It was fabulous. It was marvelous. It was amazing. We had zero, count 'em, zero stress in our life. That's why we lived 10 years longer than our husbands. Guess what, ladies? You're now dying before men. Your lifespan is shortened. In the span of just 10 years, they're now seeing the stress levels rise in women, and they are dying from it just like men. So the man, even when he doesn't work digging a ditch, building a building, welding stuff under the sea, on a crab boat, he still suffers tremendous amounts of stress at work, and he dies still, or used to, still 10 years younger than you. But now that's all reversed. Thank you, feminism. If you're letting people convince you that you should not have children and that children are a burden and this and that and the other, you really need to put that silly notion out of your head. Because every psychologist has already done studies assuming that the woman wants children. Now they were then observing how nurturing was a woman really. Was the father more nurturing? And they found out fathers are more nurturing, actually. The whole notion that a woman would come along and say, I don't want to have children. And that a whole bunch of those women, that it would become a trend that a whole bunch of women would say that is preposterous, because the scientists then came out and said it's biological to want to have children for the man and the woman. Or should I reverse that? For the woman and the man. It's biological for men to want to have children. And men want to have it at the same window of time that women want to have children, before they go through menopause, right? Men have the same exact timeline. This is why I led off the entire video telling black people to stay out of this. We're not like that. The black community is not like. We are family oriented. We are group oriented. That's why when a white person comes along and says, hey, communism, it's a great thing, you all together, and black people get confused and go, oh, together? Yeah, we're together. We love being together. We can't imagine not being around other black people. That's why when you have this whole single mother stuff and then the child joins gangs, people don't explain, hey, it's the whole idea that the child wants to be a part of a group, because black children are socialized to be black first. Not American, not men, not women. They want to be black first. And yes, they even have girls that join gangs or be a part of it in some way. If they're not holding a gun, there might be, they might, bake cookies for the gang members. I don't know what they do. Or pass them around or whatever. It's the whole notion that black people want to be a part of a group. So this whole notion of let's not have children, most black people are counting, well, how many children do you want to have? That's the question in the black community, versus the white community is fine with being alone. Even Africans way back in the day hunted together. The European notion of hunting is that you go out by yourself with a bow and arrow or spear or a gun or whatever, and you stalk through that's their whole notion. Look at all of their movies. It's a continued perpetuation of that notion that it's the lone hunter, it's the lone wolf. All of the mythology of Europe is loneliness. Why? Because they lived in such a crowded situation in Europe, they just couldn't stand other people. So this notion of not having children falls on some fertile ground with Europeans. It does not fall on fertile ground with Africans. We had vast amounts of lands and great resources. And we didn't have to be industrious to feed ourselves. We could live in the lap of luxury in palaces of gold without doing very much of anything. And we did have scholars. We did have university. Why? Because we could. We had ample time to do whatever. Unlike Europe, our African farmers weren't looked down upon. That whole structure that you see in European society and European history is non-existent in African culture, almost universally. Of course, now this plays into my whole statement before in another video that said that white people will be no more very soon. There are books being written about it's okay not to want children. It's fine not to want children. You shouldn't feel ashamed not to want children. Men shouldn't want children. Oh, overpopulation. It's all a concerted effort to get you to destroy yourselves. And black people need to stay out of that.